how did you get into self-advocacy, and what have you used it for?
I guess I will say I got into self-advocacy because I like helping people. I'm a helpful person. But even before I started advocacy, I kept thinking to myself, there's people out there that need your help, and especially people with disabilities, because they're really misrepresented in society today. So I do it for that reason. I also actually, a side note from a kind of a love story, I met my fiance actually through one of those self-advocacy things. So we've been in a relationship for 4 years. Just got engaged this past December. And we met at one of the things in Washington, D.C. for the National Conference for the Arc. So things can happen in a lot of mysterious ways, I gotta say.
Well, firstly, congratulations on your engagement. Does anybody have any questions for Joseph regarding self-advocacy in the States? Or could you say a bit about what you use self-advocacy for yourself?
When was the first circumstances that you had to use this skill, and what happened? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Perry. So I guess I kind of understand the question. So I'll speak about a kind of a story. So I was in Albany, New York, our state's capital, and there was, in our literature till that time, there was the R word, and I'm sure all you guys know what that word is, far too well. But I was one of the people that went up to Albany and actually asked them to sign the legislation, at least in the States, to get it out of literature, to get it out of law, to use that mental retardation word.
I think I heard this, something like that. They got rid of the word, at some point the R word was thrown out of court or something like that. I remember hearing something about this.
Yeah, and I was one of the people that was in Albany that advocated for getting that word out.
Wow.
We are very impressed.
And this is my experience, not my experience, but the stuff that I'm seeing online. They've started using the word autism as an insult. So I'm not entirely sure how we're going to get that one out of their psyche. Seems to be that people seem to think that normal or neurotypical people are incapable of doing anything undesirable. Which is ridiculous.
Not the case. I mean, online, yes, but we really should tap into their psyches and try to change their mind, because autism is not a bad thing. Autism is something someone's either born with or they get later in life, and something they can't help. They can't help being that way, so they shouldn't really have any hurtful things in any sort of way. There's nothing really demeaning or bad about being autistic, in my opinion.
I think it's safe to say that it's misrepresented, but the biggest issue is trying to actually get people to listen, because there's so much information out there for people to read, yet they don't read it.
I find a similar thing happens with cerebral palsy. You kind of given the whole like, oh, you've got CP, so you can't do this, you can't do that, and then when you can, everyone's a bit like, oh, did you lie? Like, no. I've just worked really hard to like do the things I can do.
Could you, Sarah, could you say a bit about what drew you to self-advocacy and what you've used self-advocacy for?
So I started with the self-advocacy stuff mainly when I was at school. I went to a school for people without disabilities and a school for people with. The two kind of joined together to give me my education. And I kind of found that there was this massive gap when the two groups got together. And it was kind of my mission then as a teenager to sort of bring those two groups together.
What topic did you utilize self-advocacy for? And what aspect of life was it that you wanted to change?
It was just the fact that even though we're different mentally and physically, we were still interested in the same things. So it kind of happened really over music. So it was just like, oh, I really like that song. And then everyone was like, oh, you know who this is? I was like, yeah, I'm not like born under a rock. That kind of thing. And then it kind of, it moved to me then introducing my able-bodied friends to my friends with disabilities. And that was kind of, it was kind of like over a fence type thing at break time. Oh, this is so and so. But that was it really. And then it kind of changed the attitudes that my able-bodied friends had towards me. They started treating me like, however they would each other rather than with kid gloves, which is quite interesting.
George, when it comes to self-advocacy and speaking up, what are the subjects that are closest to your heart?
Mine is treat people on an equal footing. It doesn't matter whether you've got a disability or not. Just how you would treat other people. Treat them with respect. They deserve to have the respect of people. I've Gordon knows. I've got a friend that comes to the All Stars group. She's in a wheelchair, cerebral palsy, and I just treat her as a normal person. Every time she gives you a massive smile. The only way she communicates is through the computer on her wheelchair. But she's a lovely girl, and she just people like that need to be treated with respect, and sometimes they're not. It does annoy me sometimes. It's and the way some people talk to you. They talk to you as though you've got a piece of dirt stuck on the bottom of your feet. It's that does annoy me. Sometimes I've nearly lost my rag because of that, and sometimes if Gordon's not there to calm me down, I've usually gone off on one, or whoever's there. Some people, I think, were back in the old days, if you know what I mean. They talk down to you, and I can't stand that. That does annoy me. I had an ex-boss like that. And
in your time in self-advocacy, do you feel that what you've done in self-advocacy has made a difference? I'll start that with Sarah.
I think I'm getting there with what I want to say slowly being put out there, but it's taken me a long time to get to here, if that makes sense. I'd much rather share other people's stories than my own, which doesn't really help.
I found with me, the biggest thing is to calm down, walk away from the situation, then come back again. Sometimes the best thing to do, for example, if mine's in a sort of work situation, I will find that if they decide to change something in the most obnoxious manner possible, the best thing to do is to go away, not say anything that day, come back in the evening, come back the next day, and then mention it. Because by that point you've cooled off and thought about it. Otherwise I'll go off and say something stupid and regret it later. So sometimes it's a matter of getting a bit of distance between you and the situation before opening your mouth or sending that email, and then getting yourself into a whole heap of doo-doo.
But do you think self-advocacy has helped you to do that?
Yes, it has, because I can listen to other people's accounts and hear what they've done, and then kind of run myself through those scenarios in my head and learn like that.
How about you, Joseph? How do you feel that self-advocacy has worked in the United States? Do you feel that your voice as a self-advocate is taken seriously where you are?
I got a kind of I'm kind of piggybacking off of Perry and Sarah in a sense, but in the United States, I believe our voice is heard, but I also believe that it depends on the politician and who your audience is and who you're speaking to, because if you're speaking to a certain politician, they might not listen to you because they're like, I have this agenda, I have to get this done, I can't listen to anything else. And other people might say, well, I'm all for disability, or I used to be for disability, and I'll listen to you. I feel like I'm listened to a lot of the time when I advocate, but I know people, or some people feel like they're not being listened to, and sometimes that's the case, and sometimes that's not the case. That depends on the politician.
Can you say a little bit about what are the topics that come up for self-advocates when you're speaking up? What part of disability rights are you talking about? What parts of your life are you talking about?
I'll speak personally for myself first before I speak from an agency perspective, because my agency spoke about a lot of things too. But for me, especially even today, I do talk about once in a while the R word. And once in a while, I do talk about like one of our biggest things is Social Security and Medicaid. That is a big thing that I talked about in our area whenever I get to go up to Albany or Washington to talk to our representatives. I've been trying to see if I can get them on Zoom because of this whole stupid COVID, but it's not as easy as possible to get them on to things. But, I think even people with disabilities in my organization think even transportation is a barrier. It's a barrier depending on where you live in the state.
What about yourself, George?
Well, I've found self-advocacy has helped me a lot. It's given me confidence to do things. I mean, many moons ago, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing here now, or even, as you know, stand up in front of somebody and give a speech or something like that. It's I've found that I've held up a lot of respect for people that are worse off than I am. I mean, my disability is just mild compared to some people's. It's I've seen, the way sometimes some people just treat people with the disabilities. You think to yourself, why? Why not? I mean, as I say, self-advocacy has given me confidence to go up and have a chat with them and say, you can do this. You can get on a bus by yourself. You can go into a shop and spend your money on whatever you want to spend your money on, in my case, Lego, but which I've never as Gordon and Sarah would testify that. And no, it can be difficult, even in these hard times we're in now. It's they seem to what's the word I'm looking for? They seem to put the government, I think, in my eyes, seems to put the disabilities aside. They think everybody's going to be the same as them, and they think, oh no, people with disabilities, don't worry about them. They won't. They're not allowed, anything like this, but they should be. It's partly what I call a respect and stuff like that. We've tried to eradicate the R word over here, but it hasn't worked. We've tried, but we've tried our best. But, yeah.
Do you really believe it hasn't worked?
Well, I still hear the word around.
I don't hear it. That's a fun thing.
Yeah, we still hear it. I haven't heard it around lately, but a couple of years ago, I heard someone being called the R word. And you think to yourself, well, no, that's not respect for anybody, you know. It's, because as I say, we held that respect campaign, didn't we, to try and get rid of the R word and other words that we don't like being called as well.
We're living in a time that is completely unprecedented with COVID-19, and we're not in contact with each other, and we're all staying at home. What has your experience been like? So for that, I'm going to ask Gordon.
Mine?
Yeah, how have you been in self-isolation?
Yeah, I ain't been going out much. Just go out for, like, say, do my shopping, and then I've got like a jigsaw puzzle to do. But I've got other little jobs in between now, so that'll keep me new. So that's what I've been doing, like isolation. So yeah.
How about you, Perry?
Mostly just keeping myself entertained. That's it. But because I work in food retail as well, I have to go to work. I can't. So I suppose it's not as bad, but it's what's difficult is when you sort of on a whim decide to sort of run off to London or whatever, and you can't do that. And I find that it gets quite boring just not being able to do anything but just stay at home or go to work.
Can I just ask you, because you are working at the moment, and in particular because you work in retail,
Yeah.
do you feel safe when you go to work or when you're at work?
Interesting. Yes, and no. We had a theft today, and a little bit of a fight broke out. But for the most part, I'm not dealing with the people that are confrontational. It'll be the guards and the rest of the staff around the front. But sometimes you might have to deal with a thief in person. Sorry, I've just got off. I just had an unexpected shift today, so I'm kind of half asleep.
That's quite right.
But we are generally advised to just report what we see and not do anything, because some of the people that we have to deal with have been known to carry weapons, so we can't actually do anything. But for the most part, I feel generally safe.
Joseph, what's your experience of lockdown been?
I guess I'll say that I'm not currently working. I did work for a while as a DJ before this COVID scene happened, and I do those virtual scenes. But I will say that it's different. I gotta say it's different. It's more of like a digital divide in a sense, because we're meeting on Zoom more. We're seeing each other, but it still doesn't feel the same as seeing people in person. I mean, for the people that work, they get to see people on a daily basis, but for people that don't even work and they're just joining these Zoom calls, it doesn't feel the same. Like, I didn't even get my own graduation from my own RISE program at one of my state colleges because of this COVID thing. So, I officially graduated there Monday, but I'm hoping that they do a virtual graduation for the college, and I'm at least invited to that. But it doesn't feel the same as not seeing people in person. Is all I really have to say on that matter.
Sarah, what about yourself?
For me, it's not been too bad. I'm isolating with my parents because I still live with them. So that's not too bad. It's just I miss the routine that going to work normally gives you. So like getting up at a certain time and doing things at certain times. But other than that, I think I'm doing alright. I just miss coffee with my friends and the normal things that I normally take for granted that like I can't do now. And like Perry says, I don't like not being able to just go and do things like I normally would. So that's quite annoying.
How about yourself, George?
Yeah, more or less, I championed what Sarah said there. It's very difficult. I'm getting on all right. It's finding things to do. You know, luckily I've got a couple of model kits to build and stuff like that. I've been going out, getting breath of fresh air. I miss meeting friends, having a coffee. I going to meet Gordon sometimes of a morning, go and have a coffee, and going off to work. The only time I can work now is on a Friday afternoon, and I've got to make sure that I'm well away from the kids that are at the school. You know, because the kids are at school that are of key workers. You know, they're doing like medical staff and police and stuff like that. So it is difficult. I miss meeting some of my work colleagues. You know, that we have a little chat before we go off and do our work, and you know we're always. But it's very difficult at the moment, but you know I think we're getting there. I know we're trying to ease it down a bit, but I've watched a lot of telly. I think my poor old telly's getting worn out now. The amount of telly I watch, especially the amount of cricket. So, which will please Isaac because I know he likes his cricket.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to round things off a little bit by just talking very briefly in terms of self-advocacy. What do you want self-advocacy to change? If you could choose one thing that self-advocacy could change for the better for people with disabilities, what would that be? And I will ask Joseph.
I guess, in my opinion, it's not as one thing, but I will say that I wish politicians would hear us more than they are.
Have you thought about throwing a campaign?
I don't know if we would have the funds or whatever it would be to do that. We do go to Albany, but you know, I just don't know if like every politician is supportive, I would say, of people with disabilities.
Maybe you could just get a group of people together and see what happens. I mean, I don't know what
that's a great idea, Perry, and I might take you up on that. I might take your suggestion. That's very great for you. And before we hold on one second, Isaac. Before we end this, that's for next time. How would people object to doing a Facebook call so we don't have to keep having the remaining meeting times?
Yeah, let's do that. It's probably easier, actually.
Sarah, did you have anything to say about what you want to utilise self-advocacy for? What would be the one thing that would change?
One thing that I tend to, but people actually listen to us rather than just hearing us. Hearing us and listening to us are different things.
What about you, George?
I believe self-efficacy could show us more respect and get our voice out there as we are.
What about you, Gordon?
I was going to say, speak up more.
Okay, it looks like we're just about to finish off.
Yeah,
thank you very, very much for joining us all the way from the United States.
Yeah.
It's great to have a proper chat with you. I know we've met before, but it's great to have a proper chat with you, with everybody else. Media team, Sarah, Perry, George, Gordon.